What's happening, everyone? Tim with timscomputerfix.net. I have a different kind of a video here for everyone today. Halloween is right around the corner, so I'm getting prepared. And one thing that I like to, and I take pride in the graveyard that we do out in front of my shop, is custom LED lights. So in this video, I'm going to show you how I make these custom LED lights that shine up on my tombstones. So first, let's just take a look at the light itself, the, I guess, finished product or whatever you want to call it. So I have everything set up to where we can change the colors simply by switching out wires here. We'll move this one, we'll move that one out of the way. So we got red, we could use red if we want a red. Blue, green, obviously, RGB, or you can put two of them in there at the same time and get different colors that way, or you can do all of them at once. There's your purple. So you got purple now, which also looks good up against tombstones. Kind of hard to tell. You'll get a better view of all this whenever my graveyard is done. I'm actually running, this is how I run everything every year. I'm trying to get this so you can see it. This is an old gateway power supply out of a really old gateway that I yanked out of so many years ago. Got everything on the 12 volt rail, which is coming out of my Molex into this wire block, and then what I do is I use a network cable, like from Cat 5 or Cat 6. I just use each individual wire. And this is really good because these little wires are not visible in low light outside, so you don't have to worry about seeing tacky extension cords running to everything. And you know, I can run a dozen of these off of one long strand. It'll run off a dang phone charger. We just use the low voltage lighting to do this, and I'm going to show you now how we actually create and build these guys from scratch. So let's take a look. Where do we want to start with this? Okay, so we just got a short piece of, this is Cat 5 cable here. I just want to create I want to make these cables that run on each end. So that's where we'll start. Let's take our cable insulation cutters. Great tool to have. I know every tech has to have one. If you don't, look below this video and there'll be a link to these. Gotta have them. Make life so much easier. Something like this here. We'll cut maybe 2 inches or so off of each one for each color cable. Then we have to take the time to unravel them. Now you can cut these a bit longer if you like, depend on what you're trying to do. With these, you know, I got enough hanging out to where if these lines ever break or whatever, you can just shave them off again. But these are real easy to build, really. Once you build them, once you have them done, you really don't have to worry about it much anymore. All right. As I say, these are for the ends. So one of these is positive. Okay, the positive lead. All right, and I try to just do my positive leads in stripes. I try to do all the same color, stripe green, but I got stripe green here, and then this other end I have a solid color. So I know the solid color will not be positive, the stripe will be, so I know which end is the positive. Don't matter what color it is, I just use the green. Okay, let me introduce you to something that's going to make your life easy. I bought a pack of these. These are from a company called GRIVER. This is a 4-pin LED connector. These are not just for LED strip lights. These particular ones are for the waterproof 50/50 LED light strips. Okay, so it's real important that you get the proper connector for the proper LED strips. And these here are my waterproof LED 50/50 strip light. The waterproof, you definitely will know because it's got a rubber coating over the top of the strip. And they come in different LED count. Just keep in mind to be sure you have the right connector for the right strip. Back in the day, when I was doing this before, I would actually be soldering these cables, these wires, onto these little tiny leads. So let me show you what these things were looking like when I had to solder them. This was without any kind of diffuser, without any kind of thing. I was trying to use hot glue to kind of stabilize where they were soldered, but you can see I actually had to pull back the plastic insulation and actually solder these cables onto each one of these little pads. So you can imagine how daunting that was. So we had to strip the wires, we had to tin the tips of the wires, then we had to solder the wires to the copper. And I tried to secure it with some hot glue, which held for a minute, but then you can see how that started to, and I was having so many little shorts and like not, they work 1 minute and not the next because they kept coming apart. Was just a nightmare. And I did lots of these like this. What we have to do, so that's 4, like you say, 4-pin, and these LED strips have 4 copper pads on them. So this is the proper connector. Basically what we want to do is strip one end of these wires. So I just do about maybe a 1/2 inch or so. However way you want to do it, you might have an easier way than I have. You know, wire strippers or whatever like this. This is too big for these small wires. I'm going really small on the wires, and I think I touched on that, so they won't be visible. But these carry a good bit of current, plenty of current for this, so trust me, I've had my graveyard set up before numerous times, so I know I can set up several of these lights in a daisy chain. Yeah, just that easy. Stripping these ends down. So what you don't want to do is to actually cut the wire. You need every strand, especially if you're using stranded cables. This may not be the best way to do this job. I'm just giving you a general idea of how I do it. On this end of the wire connector, if you can see, there are grooves, and these grooves are where the wires lay into. And if you look really closely, there are copper V-like slots up in here. And when you get all 4 of them lined up in here, you get all 4 of them lined up in here and get them all on in between each V separately, and then you clamp down on this cover, and that clamps the cables down into place. On this other end, this is where the LED strip goes into, and there are, I guess you could say, pins that are sharp pins that point up, that when you insert the ribbon from the light, from the LED light, you close down this lid and it clamps down and bites onto the LED strip, making contact. Now, it sounds really simple and it sounds really straightforward, and it is for the most part. So, what you want to do is be sure all your wires are relatively straight, okay? And then you want to be sure that you have your whatever one you want to be positive on one end out. Okay, I got the green stripe on the outside, okay? And on the other side, you want to be sure that you have a solid. And this I know is not going to be a positive. So that's for identification purposes. Okay? So then, this is how you should need to hold this set of wires to make it easy to go into the wire strip, to the wire connector. Okay? Don't hold it like that. Don't hold them like that. You want to hold them like this. Just like that. And just make sure they're kind of evenly spaced out a little bit there. See that? Okay? And then this is where things get you got to really look close, and you want to put all of these in there. Squeeze them in there a little bit. All right, and then you want to look to be sure. Now I use a magnifying glass. I have a magnifying glass that I can wear on my head, or I can look into this little one that I have that lights up. But you pretty much want to get a visual and see that your cables are resting in each copper V, right? And once you see that they are, you want to push and clamp, just like that. But don't let go. So what you want to do now, once you know you have those clamped or sort of in there tight, you want to look to be sure that your cables are in the right slot when they're coming out of this. And I can see here that the blue isn't, so I'm going to kind of pull it out. There we go. So get them all lined up into each hole to where they have their own individual slot. So once you do that, keep it sort of tight there with your finger. You don't have to try to mash the heck out of it, but then you just want to take a pair of pliers of your choice and give it a slight squeeze, and you'll see the clip will come around and clip down. All right, you still keep a bit of pressure on it, and you turn it over. All right, and everything's still looking good, lined up in their own slots here. Then you want to clip the other side. Here it clipped, it just clicked. All right, now you don't have to squeeze this really hard. All right, and then give it a little pressure in the middle, just like that. So believe me when I say, you don't have to clamp down on these. You want to give it some pressure, enough for the clips to click into place here and here, and then give a little slight pressure in the middle, and you'll kind of see the wires react to the pressure a little bit. They'll kind of spread and move. And now you have your wires in place. Okay, and you can almost see them, the colors and all, going right into the slots, right through the plastic there. And that's another way of kind of knowing you're doing pretty good. All right, so, but how do you know for sure that everything is right? Because once you put on this LED strip on this side here, how are you going to know that these wires are in there right? Well, we're going to test these wires for continuity right now. Get your voltmeter out. Put it on your continuity test. I put it on the speaker so you can hear the audible. So that's how we know we have continuity. All right, so we know that all I got to do, we know just to basically make sure there's continuity between these pins, these wires, and these pins on the other side. So between these wires and these pins, we want to hear a beep. So let's see if we can make that happen. All right, that's good. Go to the next one. That's good. That's good. One more. And that's it. So now I know, no questions asked, that these wires are inserted correctly into this connector. And they're pretty tight too. You can pull on them, snug. They're not coming out. Well, after going through several of these and figuring out the correct way to handle this, I've learned a few things. First of all, when I first started doing them, I was using a different brand of strip. And this brand of strip I am using now, which work better in my opinion at making contact, is this brand right here, Day Better. Okay, and I'll have this link down in below the video. But this very good lights, very affordable, inexpensive, good product there, and they seem to work better than my original ones, and I can't remember what brands those were because they were a couple years old. But these seem to work better than the other ones. But either way, I'm going to show you. I did get the other ones to work too. I had to fiddle with them a bit more. But I'm going to show you my way of doing this that hopefully will give you less headaches if you plan on doing any of this here that I'm about to show you. Okay, so 3 of these. Sorry about that. 3 of these work. 1, 2, 3. This is what I've experimented with and what works. So, scissors. There are little slots here where you can cut these scissors. There's even a line that shows a pair of scissors on them. And you cut them right on those copper ends. All right? What you want to do though is take your time here. You want to cut it right down the middle. The more copper you leave on both ends, the better. But you want to take your time and just cut and try to leave an equal amount of copper on either side or whatever. Okay. So real important to make your life easier here is these little caps, these doors, you can actually pull them up. So you see how that's a lot further up now. And what that does is that gives a lot more of an easier access here with your LED strip. And you can see the copper pads there on this strip. All right. Now I've tried this several ways. You can try it how you like, but I was originally doing this to where I was lining up. You can see the little pins in there, right? Tough to do this at this angle. See the little pins in there? I was lining this up to where those copper pads were right over those pins and then clamping it down. And I was getting such and such results. But here's the way I do it. Here's the way I do it. I'm going to take this and I'm going to go all the way in. I'm going to take that strip and go as far in as I can. And then I'm going to just push down and clamp. All right, and then I'm going to hold it. You're not going to be able to clip it, but I'm going to keep pressure on it. And same as before, I'm just going to take my pliers here and push down on the ends until I get a snap. And same thing for this other side. Push down here till I get a snap. All right, it just snapped. And then I'm going to just give it a light squeeze in the middle. Okay, and that's it. That is it. Okay, now, do we have contact? We don't know. All right, we don't know. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make up another one of these to put on this end. All right, I'm going to do that, and then we're going to come back and we're going to install this end, and then I'm going to show you how I go about making sure that there's contact. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing. Remember, we're going to flip this all the way up so we can get a wide mouth here, and we're going to stick our power strip all the way down in there as far as we can go. Stick our LED strip, and then we're going to clamp down. Make sure it's straight. All right, clamp down on that. Let's get our pliers here, and we'll just put a light squeeze on it until those ends clamp down. All right. Yep, that's down. Give it a little squeeze in the middle. Now, here's what I always do. There are times that you will find that in many cases, that even though those little pins where the strip is pierce the ribbon, doesn't actually go all the way up sometimes and make contact with the proper leads. First thing you have to do doing this is be sure that you put these ribbons in straight. You don't want them cocked or crooked any. But the other thing that had helped me is to pull on the strip some as if you're sliding it out slightly from the connector. So what that does is force the pins to dig in a little more, because you're pulling back a little bit on the LED strip, right? So I just do this by pushing with my thumb and forefinger and pulling evenly, and I give a fair amount of you don't want to pull it out, obviously. You don't want large movements, right? But you just want enough just to maybe move it just a little bit. And they're pretty tight. I mean, you can go pretty tight with it. All right, so I did it there. And then I'm going to do it here. Just kind of pull on it. Just kind of pull straight back on it a little bit tight. It doesn't even feel like it moves sometimes. You have to maybe keep going back and forth with it. If you don't have a good connection, you go back and you pull it some more, go back and pull it some more. You got to play with it. And all right, so we just test. We're just going to touch each end of these wires here respectively and see if we have continuity. Oh, I got one there. Got one there. I got one there. There we go. Perfect. Perfect. That's it. That is it. Now, this one looked easy. And I'm telling you, it's this new brand of light that I bought. There's other waterproof strips that don't quite play too nicely with these connectors. But by pulling on them and making them, and then you pull on them, and then you kind of give it a little bit of pressure and pull on them, you'll end up getting them to work. But there's no need in really clamping down on these hard, because I promise you they'll break and they'll be no good. You can't use them. You should not, except for your first several tries, you might mess these up. But after that, once you get the hang of it, you should not have to be breaking these anymore to get them to work. I can take this apart, open these doors, pull all this stuff out, and that connector will be reusable next time. Because you pay a little bit of money for these. They're not the cheapest things. So we know we have continuity all the way across. Sweet. That means we are ready we're ready to place these into our housing here with our diffuser. So what I have here is called an aluminum LED channel, and I ordered these off of Amazon, and this is the diffuser that comes with them. This is a very inexpensive, you don't have to have them, but if you're going to have these outside, even though these are waterproof, and you're going to have these outside laying in your graveyard, you know, they're going to get dew, they're going to get moisture, condensation, whatever, which is okay. They're waterproof, but, you know, when it comes to the connections themselves, maybe not so much. Plus, if you just have these on without a diffuser, they're really quite blinding. The diffuser helps to really soften that without taking away the effect or the brightness of the light, but it doesn't blind you. So it kind of spreads the light out, hence the word diffuse. It diffuses the light. So these are really cool. I have a link down below for these. They are a must-have. They got straight ones and they got angled ones. This is an angled one because I wanted to kind of sit at an angle, obviously. But so I just cut these to size with a grinding wheel. Just cut them to size. Hack them off, however way you want to do it. It's just aluminum, so they cut real easy. They come in big, long, like 5-foot strips, 4-foot strips, and so does the diffusers, and you just cut them to length. And basically all we do is just take our strip, still sticky, that's okay, and we'll lay them in here. And the thing I was concerned about was the diffuser fitting over where the connectors are, and I thought, man, it's not going to fit over that. But guess what? It does. It fits. So just kind of get that in there like that. Okay. And then we take our diffuser, and it's a little tricky with these. They got little grooves here on the rails. So you just take one end. Actually, it's probably a good idea to, yeah, this has a piece of scratch protective film. Look at that. That's so it doesn't scratch during shipping. That's so awesome, man. I mean, anyway, so you just want to take one side of your diffuser and just get it into the groove. There's a groove there in the channel. All right, so once it's in the bottom groove, or whatever groove, and then you have to kind of squeeze it down, play with it a little bit, kind of bend it into the other groove, the top groove. Once it's in the bottom groove, you bend it until it snaps into the top groove. That's a good way to put it. Yep, it snapped. Oh, no, it missed. Okay, it's in there. Yep. And that's it. It's in there. So there you have it. Now, this is just my way of doing this, but let me show you what I use. You know, if you want to, you can solder these ends so they don't like break off maybe. So here's another thing I purchased. Check it out, man. This is awesome. This saves me, instead of soldering these wires together or twisting them or whatever. This is by Striveday. This is a 68-piece, 2-piece spring connector. So they're cable clamps. Check it out. Now, yeah, let's do this, right? So this goes to my power supply, right? So in my graveyard, I'm going to have a main line running across the ground somewhere, and I'm going to have to tie everything in. So I'm just going to put my positive connector, and you just push it, right? Hoo-hoo, right? And then my negative connector here, push it, stick it in, boom, right? And now I take my, let's go this way. Now I take my positive connector. Oh, I always do that. I always press the wrong one. I take the positive side of my light and I tuck it in there. And then I take all of my negatives and I kind of move them out of the way a little bit, and then I'll just choose one. So here are my negatives here. And whichever one I want is just whichever color that I want. So let me just go ahead and power on our power supply again. All right, that fired up. All right, and the one thing you just want to be sure is, of course, the other end, to be sure none of those wires are touching. That's always something to be careful of. You don't want the positive really touching anything else, so we'll kind of move him out of the way a little bit more. Get my mouse out of the way. All right, and let's see. So I've got them connected like so. I think we got it. All right, so I've got a positive connected there. Now I can just test out and just touch each negative to see what color I want. There's red. I like red. Red's pretty good. Let's do green. Let's see, is green. There's green. So I want to go green. Push. And there. All right. So there is my custom made LED light. And you know, that can go, it's going to be, you can't see it here. It's light lit up, but so basically, you know, this tombstone will be green. This tombstone can be green, right? And then from this end, what I can do is take another one of these, and we'll plug it into my positive here. And that's my second negative. So make sure we get a second negative on this end going. And I'll put it in here. Match them up, right? And from this point, I'm ready to run another cable along the ground, another network cable similar to this along the ground, and go to my next tombstone, which I can then connect with my next light and pick whatever color I want that one to be. So let me move these out of the way. And then we can pick whatever color we want from the next one. Ah, there's blue. Let's do blue. All right, and we'll just push that in there like so. And that's it. So that's how we get our different color combinations. I can stretch, put whatever length of cable I want to in between these, and just be able to light up each individual tombstone with each individual color. Pretty freaking awesome. I'm sure there's tons of other ways to do this and better ways. Maybe I just thought I'd show you my way. I am Tim with timscomputerfix.net. I'm going to show everybody as I go with this graveyard and kind of let you see what the final results are and everything. But it's pretty neat how this works. This makes life so much easier with all of this. Please rate and subscribe to my feed. I really would appreciate that. Give me a thumbs up. Hit that bell to get notifications. I'm going to be uploading more videos. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you soon.